Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Introduction to Agent-Based Modeling. We are now in week, what is it, week 6, 7? Week 6, right? Am I on the right? Week 7. Wow, we are week 7. I thought it was for a split second there, but I got confused. So, anyways, thank you all for joining. As you can probably tell from my background, I am not at my normal office. In fact, I'm in someplace every computer program should be at least once in their life, which is in my parents' basement, right? My mother had a small operation, and so I had to go home to help her out. But everything went fine. Everything went smoothly. She's recovering nicely, so that's great. Um, uh, so this week 7, we are working through Unit 5 of the course. We're getting close to like the point where things are going to start wrapping up, right? Because there's only 9 unit numbers. It's 11-week course, but there's 9 units, right? So 6, 7, 8, 9 is all that's left after this, right? So you have 7. You made it through 7 weeks of the 11-week course at this point, right? Once you complete this week, so only 4 weeks left. So the last 4 weeks are primarily going to be spent on building your new model, right? That you're going to turn in for the final end of the course. That assignment will become available at the end of Unit 6. You'll see it, but you can start working on it right now, right? You're building a model. It's just that the Unit 6 will have the guidelines for how you'll be graded on that model development, right? Unit 5 is cool, right? So up until this point, it's all been about how to build models, right? And now, hopefully, after you've gone through Unit 4, you have a good understanding of how to build your models, right? And how to design them from the ground up. And Unit 5 is about, okay, now that you've built a model, really what were you doing? And what things should you have been thinking about when you're doing? So it's kind of tearing the model back down into its components and kind of considering all the different making things that you had to do, all the different decisions that you had to make as you were working through the model construction process, right? And this is where we get into talking about things like asynchronous versus synchronous time steps and different things along those lines, right? What are different types of agents you can have? What are the different types of environments you can have, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really called the components of an agent-based model. Okay. So as always, if you have questions during this office hour, feel free to post them live to the chat, or you can tweet at me at intro to ABM, and I will check the tweets as I go through the office hours to see if anything comes in. Also look as to other things going on, and try to get you some answers as we go along, right? So it looks like we got a couple people on the line watching, so if you have a chance, feel free to shoot me a question if you have any concerns. So going through the emails and the discussion forums that we got this week, it looks like there were a lot of emails about, like, did you get my model questionnaire, right? Did you get my model form that I filled out? You can always check that, right? And so the way you check that, right, is you go on Complexity Explorer, and you should be able to find your My Progress tab in the course. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate this very well because my interface doesn't look like your interface. But you should be able to find a My Progress tab. And then if you click on the My Progress tab, there should be a button that says View My Submissions, right? And if you click on that, it will actually download the PDF that you uploaded, right? And so that's the easy way to check to see if you submitted. Now, we've also had a couple of requests for extensions, right? In general, it's very hard for us to handle extensions, right? There's 1,000 people enrolled in the course, right? Trying to get the extensions out there, trying to get that all worked in, and then the peer review system is all automatic. So when you send something, it automatically gets sent back to 3 people. It becomes very difficult to get those submissions involved in the process, right? So I highly discourage it. But if you do have a question about an extension or something along those lines, shoot us an email at abm@complexityexplorer.org, and we will do our best to get back to you. Okay. So other than that, we did have some other technical questions about what was going on. One that came up from Perry Waggle was about an exam question. I guess I haven't made this announcement in this class. We don't want discussion of the exam questions happening on the forums, right? Because the exams are how you get graded for your certificate. If you have a question, if you think that the exam is incorrect, that it was done, that there's a problem with it, feel free to send us an email and we'll discuss it, right? But we don't want to discuss it either in the office hours or on the forum. I don't want to discuss the exam questions because that's how you get the certificates, right? And so that would be essentially like giving you the answers or giving someone the answers, especially since the exams can be taken at any time up until the finish of the class. So if you have a question about any of the exams, if you think the exams are worded incorrectly or they're worded improperly or they're wrong, shoot us an email. I mean, I'm happy to answer general clarifying type questions about the exam questions, right? But this one in particular is one where they think that the answer was incorrect. And so I can't, unfortunately, really have a good discussion about that on the forum. I mean, I could, but all I would do is say, nope, the answer's right. At least in this case, I'm not saying that we can't get the answer wrong, but in this case, at least the answer is correct, and that's all I can really say. I can't really give you any more feedback. If you've taken the exam and you shoot us an email, and I can go back and check to see you've taken the exam, right? Then we could potentially have a discussion about it, right? But until that point, unfortunately, we can't really have a discussion about the exams. So if you want to discuss the exams, the only way to do that is to email us, okay? So that was one question that came up. Another question came up where apparently there may still be a question mark operator in Unit 5.1 at one point. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, yeah, definitely is. I will update that video. So thanks for catching that. It was Vadim, it looks like, who caught it. So in Unit 5.1, I thought I updated all of these, but apparently I did not update this one about converting from agent sets to lists. It's very easy to do. I may, in fact, be able to update this video just by pasting, similar to the way I updated the other one where the code was incorrect. I'll just paste over the correct code. Anyways, let me show you right now what that code is. Might as well, rather than having it. So, okay. So here I'm bringing up NetLogo. I'm eventually bringing up NetLogo. There it is. Okay. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So here we have the NetLogo window, right? And the original code. So this is code about agent sets, and it talked about being able to convert from a list to an agent set and back and forth, right? So for instance, let's do some little setup here. So let's say I have 100 agents, and I give all of them a property of size, not size, of wealth. Right? And some of them have more wealth than others, so it's a random number between 0 and 99. Right? Okay. So now the question often comes, well, what if I want to do something to each of those agents depending upon how wealthy they are, right? So if I were to do that normally, I can't use ask because ask is going to do it in a random order. So instead, what I want to do is I want to do it based upon the order of that order. So what I can do is I can use let sort turtles, right? The sort turtles, and I always forget the command for this. Let me look it up. I always forget the order of the operations for this one. Oh, sort by is actually what I want. So there is a command called, now I'm looking in the NetLogo dictionary here, sort by, which takes a reporter and a set, right? So sort by wealth, right? So let me show you what this creates. So if I do this, I gotta give the property wealth. So if I do this and I type setup, let's see, did I screw up the video? No, you can see that. Okay. So if I type setup, Oh, you're not able to see the top, the bottom part. Let me fix that real quick. Okay. So, if I type setup, I've created the agents, and if I type go, let's sort turtles. Be sort by wealth turtles. Huh. That's interesting. Why can't the operator do it? Why can't the oh no? Huh. It's the problem with doing these examples live. I'm trying to figure out why I'm getting an error on this one right off the bat. Let me see. Let's see. So, so this is let's search first. What? This code can, error while observed called by procedure go. Huh. Did I give it the wrong format? Let's see. Oh, sort on. That's the problem. Okay, so sort by. Here's the problem. So sort by, I used the wrong command. Sort by will take something and sort a list, essentially, right, based upon some sort of input. Sort on will take an agent set and sort it based upon the reporter for that agent set. So there's slightly different versions. That's why I screwed up. So this is sort on and not sort by. And so let be sort on. So if you type go now, what you'll see is you'll see a list of turtles, right? But this isn't an agent set. This is a list of turtles. And the problem is that if I then try to, yeah, let me do it this way so you can see it. If I then try to ask in order this list, it's not going to do me any good, right? So if I were to go in here and write ask sort turtles, you know, set size wealth, right? Just to have them do something in that order, and then I run it, right? I'm gonna get this ask expected input to be an agent or agent set, but got the list instead, right? So I can't do it that way, right? Now, one interesting thing, right? And so by the way, so if you look at this, I looked at the wealth of the first turtle and it's 1, and that's because sort on starts with the lowest number and sorts the highest. If I want to do it the other way around, if I want to do it, have it sort the lowest to the highest, I can simply do a minus in front of the wealth, right? And so, no, I can't. I can do minus 1 times wealth, right? And so now, if I type go, and I show the wealth of turtle 96, right, it'll be 99. So it's a pretty high wealth instead of a pretty low wealth, right? And that's just inverting it so that I can sort. So now the first turtle is going to be the wealthiest turtle and so forth. So now the question becomes, how do I go from this to actually asking the turtles to do something in order, right? And the way I do that is that I can use what's called an anonymous procedure. And we've talked about these a little bit, but apparently the code that I originally had looked something like this. Ask sort. For each sort turtles. Ask question mark. Print wealth. Right. That no longer works. So that's going to get you an error now that nothing named question mark has been defined. What has happened in NetLogo 6 is you have to define the name. So it was almost like question mark was the variable that was going to be devoted to the anonymous procedure. You now have to define the name of the variable. So I can in fact do it like turtle ID, and then I push this kind of special character, this minus followed by a greater sign, and now I can say ask turtle ID to do something, right? And so when I do this, setup, and go, right, you'll see that the wealth gets printed out in order from most populous to least wealthy, right? So that's the fix. That's how to fix the code in section 5.1 where it's done incorrectly. I will, however, go in and edit this video right? So that um, it has the updated code in there. Okay, just making a note of myself to do that. Great catch, by the way. Um, who was I thought it was Vadim again. So great catch. Okay, so see, the next question that came up was Adam was wondering if the phenomenon that was submitted in the Unit 4 assignment. Oh, let me turn my video back on. Sorry. That the phenomenon was submitted in the Unit 4 assignment has to be the same one that we use for the final assignment. The answer is no, right? They're two completely independent assignments. Obviously, it would be very helpful if they're the same ones for you, right? Because you've now spent some time thinking about the model. So, it'd be helpful for you to use those thoughts to go forward to build your actual model, right? Um, and so it doesn't have to be the same one, but I would encourage you to consider it for the same one. But if you want to switch it, there's no reason not to. They're basically set up for exactly the same thing. So another thing that came up is that Benjamin found a NetLogo cheat sheet that they found very useful. It's funny, I actually had put one of these together a while ago, and it looks like this one's a little more detailed, so it might be helpful for you. But let me show it to you real quick. So there's a link to it on the forums. I highly recommend you go check out. Let me add in a window capture for this. So there it is. Okay. So there's a link to this on the forum, right? But if you look at it, right, essentially this person, Luis Izquierdo, has gone through and basically described all the terms and put in a bunch of the standard commands and things that you might look. So it might be helpful as you're working through your code, right, to just kind of refer back. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you. Refer back and kind of look over. So this might be something you want to print out and keep by your side, right? Benjamin, as you can see, talks about it's it's not exactly what they were looking for, but it's pretty useful and still very helpful. Um, and you'll see, like one person mentioned that there's a section called where is it? Called skeleton of many NetLogo models, right? That they found very helpful for thinking through, right? Definitely agree. It's a pretty good setup. It's a pretty good standard setup and pretty good example. So if you want, that's an additional place to kind of get some help as to how you're going through it. Okay. So Babita didn't understand a question on the model design questionnaire where we talked about identifying all the inputs, and they weren't sure quite what that question meant, right? So let me kind of take. By inputs, do you mean inputs of the model variable or inputs of the parameters or both? Not sure what an input to a parameter means. That terminology is just not familiar to me, Babita, so maybe you can add some clarification. What I meant when I asked it in the model design questionnaire was I meant inputs to the model itself, all the different sliders, all the different choosers, all the different things like that, right? And that's a pretty standard way of describing it. Some people draw distinctions between inputs and parameters. In many cases, I haven't found those distinctions to be very helpful. Like they could be. Often, a lot of times, the idea is that input is something that is set in the model and can't really change, but it's something that you're giving to the model. Like, for instance, I want to build a model of the segregation in Chicago, right? And so one of my inputs is a map of Chicago, right? And the parameters are things that you change between runs of the model, right? So, for instance, you change how tolerant people are of each other within Chicago, right? That's a discrimination some people make. Difference some people draw. I don't find that very useful because honestly, right, like if I want to now take that model of segregation and apply it to a model of discrimination or segregation in in Miami or Cleveland or wherever, right, then I need to put a new map into the model, right? So that's kind of the same in my mind as a parameter, right? It's some, there might very well be contexts in which this distinction is important, but for a lot of what we're talking about in the model design questionnaire, I don't find it a particularly useful distinction. But feel free, like that's not something I feel strongly about, so feel free to let's have a discussion about it. But I've rarely had that case that's been okay. So what I meant when I asked that question was literally, what are the sliders going to be on your models, right? What are the different chooser buttons? What are the different things you're going to have in your model? Okay. One last question came in on the emails that I forgot to answer at the top is about, let's say I screwed up, I missed the model design assessment deadline, but I've been doing all the exams. Can I still earn a certificate in this course? The answer is yes, you can. To earn a certificate, you need a 70% average, I believe, and that average, the model design assignment is just one component of that average. It's considered the same as a level of exam, right? So if you think about it, if you got a perfect score, and so there are 9 exams plus the model design questionnaire plus the final project, right? I think you do get some grading for the peer reviews as well. I don't remember how that works in. But essentially, let's say it winds up being like 13 grades in the course, right? Even if you skip the model design questionnaire, as long as you get like 100% on, say, 8 or 9 of the other ones, you'll still have a 70% average. I haven't worked out the math exactly, but it's something along those lines, right? So you can still get a certificate even if you messed up and skipped the model design questionnaire, okay? Just keep track of your My Progress tab and see what your percentage is, and that will give you a good indication of whether you're still on target to complete the final exam, the certificate. Okay, so I think that's actually all the questions. We kind of whipped through all those fairly quickly today, so I don't have anything else to talk about. I guess the questions, most of them actually were a little bit easier than, or a little bit more straightforward. I won't say easier; they're more straightforward than the questions we've had in the past. But anyways, just to kind of wrap it all up, again, if you we're working on Unit 5 this week, right? I didn't mention this at the top of the hour, right? Make sure and get your peer reviews done on the design questionnaires, right? That is part of your overall grade. And so make sure you get those done as well. If you don't get those done, those do count against your ability to get the certificate. So make sure and turn those in, right? And then the other thing to be looking forward to is next week you will see, actually I'll probably post it tomorrow. You'll see the final assignment, right? And all the details on that, right? So take a look out for that, and that's it. We're getting towards the end. We're well over halfway there. We're about 70%, 65, 70% done with the class. Okay, so good luck with everything. And if you have any questions, again, you can always shoot me an email, tweet at me. Otherwise, I will see you next week at our regularly scheduled time. Double checking that real quick before I make that promise. I will see you next week at our regularly scheduled time at 11 a.m. Okay? Take care, everybody. Signing off. Bye.